We're pleased to be joined now by Ryan Haack. He is the author of Different is Awesome and the founder of LivingOnehanded.com. Ryan, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. It's great to be here.
Appreciate having you on. You have a really interesting story because certainly there are always going to be differences between one person and another, and those differences, unfortunately, in many cases, especially growing up, are the kinds of things that people will single you out for. And in your case, you were born in 1977, missing your left forearm, and you've remained that way ever since. You have one arm, and you are living an incredible life. Even on top of that, you're an author. You play organized sports. You regularly speak to students and classes. What is your ultimate message that you're aiming to get out there as you continue to interact with the public and talk about your main difference from other people and the ways that it really doesn't make you any different than anybody else?
Yeah, I mean that's a lot, and it's all good. I think my main message really is that being different is awesome, and I know that there are times where it may not feel that way. There are times that it isn't that way, honestly. But I think the attitude that I have is embracing those things, especially in other people. That when we're able to embrace it in ourselves. So you can see here, I was born with one hand, like you said, and it really didn't affect me growing up. I didn't mind. I had really supportive friends and family and teachers and other students. And so for me, growing up seemed pretty normal. I wasn't bullied really. And so later on in life, probably my early 30s, actually, I ran into a family at a local restaurant here, and there was a little boy who had an arm like mine. I remember he was actually wearing a Detroit Tigers jersey, and I was talking to him about baseball. You can see I'm a Brewers fan. I know, I'm from Wisconsin. But I remember just it being a big deal to them that there was someone who looked like their son that was kind of further down the road, and so it got me thinking, well, how can I help? Because my journey was, to me at least, was pretty normal, and I felt like I could help other people. And so that's when I started LivingOnehanded.com and talked about what it's like to be a person who has a physical difference, something that's visible, people can see it easily. How do I deal with being stared at? How do I do different things? Started making videos about how I do things, and they're all pretty funny. And the goal is, to help parents, especially who maybe they found out their baby's going to be born without a hand and they're freaking out, and now they're able to say, well, things are actually going to be okay. That's my goal with that. And so then I did write this book. It's called Different is Awesome. It's actually based on a true story. One of my younger brothers, my brother Joey, his teacher told him to bring something cool for show and tell, and so he brought me one year and kind of sat me in front of all of his friends and said, this is my brother Ryan, he has one hand, and they asked me questions about how I did things. And so the book kind of retells that story, and as you go along, you realize that each of the students who are asking him questions has something different about them as well, whether they're tall or they're short, maybe they have red hair or they have freckles, and the point of it is that we all have things that are different about us than other people. And when we embrace that in ourselves, then we can embrace that and celebrate that in other people. And so it's really a message of inclusion, of diversity, and celebration of those things.
And you post a lot of your blogs on your website on LivingOnehanded.com, and it's on a variety of different topics. Different is Awesome, of course, is one of them. The deal with prosthetic arms and my thoughts on using a prosthesis, how to play piano one-handed is one of them, and also one that's entitled I Am Not One-Armed. So you have a number of different messages that not only focus on the life of someone that was born with one hand and has lived just fine with one hand and is no different than anybody else, and the differences in this case is, as you said, awesome. But on top of that, you're trying to reach a number of different people, both people that have these differences themselves and those that maybe are interacting with them as well. What's your ultimate goal with both of those groups? Because it's going to reach people in different ways, getting your message if you're someone that has grown up with both hands and has grown up without your experiences, but also someone that has grown up with somebody that has a physical difference as well.
Right. Yeah, those are really great observations, honestly, because they are two very different things. One, is I want people who are affected by, in my case, a limb difference, to know that they're not alone, to know that the experiences they're going through are not just unique to them, but others of us have experienced that, and they don't have to go through things alone. Especially, like I said, parents, it's such a big deal to me. I mean, I'm a parent myself. I have 3 teenagers now, and I know parenting is hard, regardless of how many hands your kids have, but when they have one or none or what, it adds something to it. And so I want them to know, hey, I'm here for you. If you have questions, I want you to know that it's going to be okay. And then on the other side, like you said, I do want people who haven't gone through that to be able to experience some of that, to open their eyes up to some of those experiences, because like you said, we're equal. And I don't want to diminish the fact that I am different, right? Like, it is one of those things where I don't necessarily want to say that I'm the same as everyone, because I'm clearly not. Like, having one hand is a difference from other people. And so I am different in that way. And yet I'm a person just like anybody else, like you said. And so I have feelings, I have likes and dislikes, I have hobbies, I have things that I'm good at, things that I struggle with, just like anybody else. And so the goal really for me is to normalize it and to say, while I am different, I am also mostly the same. And there are things that we can connect over where my hand doesn't even come up. I have so many friends that there are times they forget that I have one hand, which is funny to me because I live with it. But it goes to show that when you make those connections over other things, which we all have, you can kind of minimize that and normalize that. And I love doing that with kids, especially at schools, kind of laying that groundwork of accepting people the way they are, no matter what they look like.
We're joined by Ryan Haack. He's the author of Different is Awesome and the founder of LivingOnehanded.com. And we mentioned earlier, we touched on that you do like to visit schools and businesses and speak with groups and with individuals as well about your message. And if people are interested in that, because this is such an important message, especially to get out to kids as they're growing up and they're learning about different kinds of people and that are not similar to themselves and their families in one way or another, and as they branch out their greater scope of the world. But it's also important for adults as well to continue to learn about people that are different from them in some ways or another and embrace that as well. So if people are interested in having you speak to them or are interested in picking your brain about living different, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah. I mean, I think the easiest way, you could just send me an email, Ryan@livingonehanded.com. If you're interested in having me speak, either in person or virtually, livingonehanded.com/speaking, or you can just go to that page. There's a speaking button right there and has a simple form to kind of get that started. And, I think you're totally right. Like, one thing that I've loved about speaking, especially, going to schools, is a huge thing, because kids, they don't know, right? They need to learn. And so it's an honor for me to go stand in front of, 300 third graders and help them understand that just because someone looks different than you doesn't mean you need to be afraid of them or pity them, but include them and get to know them as a person. But also, like you said, going to businesses, going to organizations and speaking to them, it does not matter how old you are. You can be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, it doesn't matter. We all need to hear that message that being different is awesome, and that those things that are unique about you are valuable. And I have found that over and over when I go and speak, I'll have adults come up and say, I needed to hear that. Especially, I hear it from people who have teenagers who are trying to help them through. And they're like, I feel like a hypocrite almost, because I'm trying to help my daughter or my son get through this thing. And I don't feel the way that I'm telling them. And so it's interesting and really fulfilling for me to see that in kids and adults, that we all need to hear that message that being different is awesome, and embracing those things that make us unique.
We're joined by Ryan Haack. He's the author of Different is Awesome and the founder of LivingOnehanded.com. And you're also, as you said earlier, a big baseball fan. We see the Milwaukee Brewers hat. We'll let it go. It's the National League. It's okay.
That's right.
We don't mind that here in the Detroit area. But you also
That's right.
grew up.
We're in different leagues.
We're fine. It's all good. We're all friends here. And you grew up as a big baseball fan as well. And one of your favorite players, of course, what you have said is Jim Abbott. And of course, Jim Abbott is an all-time great. and he was born, of course, without a right hand. In your case, you were born without a left arm. He was born without a right arm and a right hand, and played a successful MLB career. You've even interviewed him on your podcast, Podcasting One-Handed. What about Jim Abbott, other than the similarities that you each have, having both been born without one of your arms? What about Jim Abbott inspires you and makes him such a favorite for you as a baseball fan and just on a human level as well?
Yeah, Jim is amazing. I've had the honor of becoming friends with him over the years. In fact, he has the blurb on the back of my book is actually from Jim, which is incredible to me. As a kid, I grew up idolizing Jim. In fact, here I have, right within reach, I have a signed Michigan jersey baseball card of Jim Abbott right there. And so I've had the opportunity to meet him and kind of pick his brain. And, you know, for me, when I was a kid, we didn't have the internet. And so there wasn't really a way to find other people who were like you. And so that wasn't something that really crossed my mind. But when he started playing baseball and it became national news and I could look in the paper and see the box scores and kind of follow his career, it was a huge deal to me. He did end up playing for the Brewers at the tail end of his career, which is really cool. But I think the thing about Jim that I love the most is that he's so down to earth, and he's able to say, hey, it ebbs and flows, you know. And so when he talks to kids, when he talks to adults and students, you know, and about our differences, he talks about how it kind of comes in and out of our lives. You know, we live our lives day to day, and sometimes it comes into it, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. But developing kind of a resiliency to those challenging times. And so, yeah, Jim has been an inspiration to me personally, just growing up. But even now, I count it an honor, like I said, to be a friend of his and to lean on him for advice. And he's just such an encouraging, amazing guy as well.
My producer Larry says that when you have a good story about when you were a kid and you would be playing baseball, of course inspired by the play of Jim, one of your favorites, but you go up to the plate for the first time against a new team. What was going through your head, and what was kind of the reaction from them, and how did you embrace that moment and push through?
Right. Yeah, it is, you know, I'm a big sports guy. I love playing sports, whether it's basketball, football, baseball. I don't actually play soccer, which everyone just assumes I do because you can't use your hands. So I don't know if that was something I actually thought of or not, but yeah, every time I would start playing a sport, you know, whether it's that first at bat or that first shot or that first, you know, running out for a catch, you know, I was always thinking, like, I need to do well because I want to show them that I can compete just like anybody. And I could tell kind of on their faces that they weren't exactly sure what to do. And so when I'd get up to bat first, I could see them kind of like, okay, do I walk in? Do I stay where I am? What exactly do I do? And so almost without fail, I would get a hit at my first at bat. And then they would all kind of say, oh, okay, he can play. Okay, well, now we're going to treat him like anybody else. So it was kind of a double-edged sword there, right? Because you know, it was an advantage at that first at bat, but then it was like, oh, well, now we're going to play him tough, and that was what I wanted, right? That was the goal, was to say I can compete just like anybody else, and so don't treat me differently, and I'm going to show you that you don't need to treat me differently. And so it was the same thing, like I said, with basketball or football, whatever. It took a play or two, and then everybody realized, oh, okay, he can play, let's go. And that, I always appreciated that. I still do.
We're joined by Ryan Haack. He is an author of Different Is Awesome and a founder of LivingOnehanded.com. And Ryan, just another couple minutes with you before we say goodbye today. If people want to get in contact with you, if they want to find more information on everything that you're doing and certainly your advocacy work, where can they find that?
Yeah, so if you go to LivingOnehanded.com is my main website, you can find information on my book there, information on speaking engagements there as well. I'm also very active on Instagram and on Facebook. Instagram is just @LivingOnehanded. Facebook is just facebook.com/LivingOnehanded. So pretty easy to find me there. I did actually just get, I'm holding the sixth printing of my book. It actually came out in 2015, and it's connected so well with people all over the world. And so I just, within the last few days, got the 6th printing of it. So I have them available now. If you would like a copy, happy to sign them and personalize them. I have some special gifts, like I showed you this. This might be something that I tuck inside there. And so you can, like I said, reach out to me, Ryan@livingonehanded.com, and I'm happy to make that happen. And like you said before, like I am willing to share my experience and give any encouragement or advice or answer any questions or anything that I'm able to do. I love doing that. That's something that really satisfies me personally. And so don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to do that.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate having you on today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Have a great week.